Hello and welcome back to Pin My Podfics, and this will be the reading of Zutopia, Chapter 10, A Hop, Skip, and a Jump by Itslivybear. Now on to the chapter summary. Chapter summary. Things progress. Over a year since Izuku had met Shoji and Chako, and Nedzu and everyone, and he was feeling way more confident than he probably had any right to be. To be entirely honest, Nedzu had told him recently that he technically was starting high school education, and with middle school usually still 2 years away, and was frankly astounding. He was turning 10 in a month, and he was really excited to finally be in double digits like Kachan. Speaking of the explosive boy, he had mellowed out some, with Chako keeping him on the straight and narrow, as it were. He had completely ditched his old cronies and was more of an angry big brother than a bully now. Izuku was almost certain that school life would be much better if he went back now, but he was far too ahead and enjoying spending time with Nedzu that he wasn't planning on anytime soon. Shoji had gotten a better mask that reminded him of a white-haired character from a ninja anime. Izuku had seen was pretty popular, so it covered his neck all the way past his ears. It looked really cool in Izuku's opinion, and it never slipped down like his old ones did, so he thought it was a pretty big improvement. Based on how happy Shoji had been when he got it, he agreed. Chako, in the meantime, had been using Kachan and Shoji and Izuku when the opportunity arose as quirk training by keeping them up in the air for a long time, and she was also getting stronger. Actually, all four of them had been going to a dojo for several months now to get strong and buff. They even met a nice boy at the dojo, but he was many years ahead of them in experience. Still, he was nice. Chako was probably the strongest physically out of all of them, something Kachan was quick to explode about. They had all been getting better though, helping each other in return for helping her stretch her quirk limits. Kachan was getting better at aerial combat and mobility. Izuku was pretty sure that it would be any day that he was using his explosions to propel himself through the air even without her assistance. Shoji was faster at switching between appendages, and he was really good at stealth despite how tall he was. Izuku, in the meantime, had been getting smarter. Nedzu was overjoyed to teach him everything he needed to know about the human mind and body language, to the point where Izuku could dissect anyone he came across just on the street. Not that he would, of course. He still got nervous to talking to people he didn't know, but he was still pretty good. Nedzu had made it a game to watch the security cameras in the school to have Izuku just rip into people and dissect them completely. It was hard without the audio and not having a perfect view, but it was really funny. He also got to watch the entrance exam, which was really fun. He was currently walking back from UA on his way to the station, completely lost in his head. After school, the other three were planning on going to Kachan's house to play some video games, just to unwind after most of the others had the first test of the season. He tripped over something and barely managed to catch himself in time. He looked back, eyes wide, to see a person slouched against the wall. "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to trip over you, are you alright?" The person, a lizard-looking guy, wasn't even paying attention, but he murmured something Izuku couldn't hear. He leaned closer with a frown. "Just a lizard. Can't be a doctor. All that training wasted." Izuku frowned more. Was this what he thought it was? Sir, are you okay?" Unfocused eyes trailed up from the street to meet his. "Nah, kid. I'm not, but don't you worry about it." "What happened?" "It's nothing really. You didn't notice when I tripped over you earlier, so obviously it's something to make you this upset. Why don't you tell me about it?" The lizard man shook his head, purple hair falling over his listless eyes. No point. I should have known better. No one wants to be treated by a doctor who looks like this. Like, what? The guy stared. Kid, I have a mutation quirk, so they didn't hire you because you have a mutation quirk? Yeah. I mean, it was just an internship. It's not that big of a deal. Izuku nodded once, then held out his hand. Come with me. The man looked confused. What? Izuku smiled brightly, putting on all his charm. I know someone who can help sort out your problem. The lizard man stumbled to his feet with a hefty haul from Izuku, and Izuku was quick to hold his hands, turning back in the direction he had just come. Oh, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Izuku Midoriya, and I'm turning 10 soon. Iguchi Shuichi, 15. Nice to meet you, I guess. Izuku nodded. Nice to meet you, Mr. Iguchi. Now, you said you were looking for an internship? For what, if I may ask? I want to be a doctor when I grow up, and I have some training already. But to go forward, I need more experience to get into a good med school. Izuku frowned, but continued to tug the teenager along. And just because you're green and have scales, they said no? Did they even look at your credentials? I mean, maybe? I don't know. Izuku continued to pry information out of him, distracting him fully from the fact that they were walking into UA, until Izuku knocked once on Nedzu's door, and then walked in. Hi, Nedzu. Oh, hello, Izuku. I see you brought a friend. Izuku smiled up at the team. Yep, this is Mr. Iguchi, and he's a victim of mutant discrimination. Nedzu's smile got wider. Is he now? How unfortunate. Mr. Iguchi, would you care for some tea while we discuss our plans going forward? Shuichi looked between the smiling young boy and the smiling rodent he now recognized as the principal of UA, and sat down dumbly. What had he gotten himself into? Izuku was more than happy to text the group chat that he was going to be a little late because he got to help Mr. Iguchi. After a couple more times of being addressed like that, he had insisted on them dropping the Mr., but Izuku wasn't about to stop. He seemed like a nice guy. Nedzu was quick to write down the names of the places and doctors who hadn't hired him on grounds of his quirk, because there were more than one, it seemed, to make him that upset when Izuku had found him, and then phoned Recovery Girl and asked her to come down to the office. Mr. Iguchi happened to have his resume on him, or maybe Nedzu had pulled it from the files of the doctors he had probably hacked, and she wordlessly read it over, checking his credentials. Perfect, I've been looking for an assistant. Mr. Iguchi was frozen, dumbstruck as Nedzu cheerfully offered him a job working under Recovery Girl, who gave Izuku a pat on the head and some fish-shaped gummies, for double what any of the other companies were offering. Izuku had waved goodbye when the contracts came out, promising he'd be back tomorrow before dashing out the door and running to the station. He didn't find anyone else to trip over on his way, so he considered that a success. He was only half an hour later than usual, and his friends very quickly added him into the game. So, Midori, Chaco started, what kept you? Kachan scoffed. Zuko probably found another loser to adopt. Been too long since ARMS. He's due. Shoji snorted. Are you one of his adopted losers then? Kachan predictably exploded, and Izuku couldn't help but giggle. I don't know about adoption, but I did help someone get a job. He couldn't before because he has a mutation quirk, so no one would hire him, but I sorted it out. He didn't notice the other three exchanged glances. They had, over the past year, come to realize what Izuku exactly meant when he sorted things out, and were quite certain that someone was about to lose their job, if nothing else. That's great, Midori. Discrimination is wrong. He nodded quite proud. Yep, Recovery Girl has a new assistant now. I'm glad I'm going to see more of Mr. Eguchi. Gachan clicked his tongue. How old is this guy? 30? 15. Choco was the only one who nodded. Sure, her parents were making more money in Hero Central, but she knew firsthand that there was no shame in wanting a job at a young age like that. So, if he's working with Recovery Girl, is he a nurse? Yep. He wanted to be a doctor, but all the further classes needed him to have experience, so he was looking for an internship. Gachan chuckled. No better internship than at UA. Lucky bastard. Gachan, language! Fuck you. Izuku rolled his eyes. Trying to get Gachan to not swear was an exercise in futility. Choco whooped as she slid into first place and everyone else startled, focusing back in on the game. I'm going to beat your asses. Choco! Sorry, Midori. Todoroki Shoto felt pretty much nothing, if he could help it. Emotions were dangerous, and the ones he felt only hurt besides. Anger, sadness, grief, fear, guilt. They were all terrible, so best to keep everything under wraps. It had been 5 years since his oldest brother had disappeared. Father said he was dead, and Fuyumi and Natsuo seemed to believe him, but Shoto wasn't so sure. Knowing that what his brother had gone through, since he was going through it himself, he had probably run away. Shoto hoped he was doing okay wherever he was. Maybe, once father was gone, he'd come back. He missed Toya. Todoroki Toya, known to most as Dabi, was not having a great time. Pickpocketing and mild shoplifting could only get him so far, and he had been on the streets going from place to place for 5 years. It wasn't fun, and squatting was worse, but he was used to it. Anything was better than going home, he told himself. He eyed the crows perched on the power lines above him and sighed, shoving burned hands into pockets and ignoring the ache contact gave. You sure had it lucky, huh? All the flying you want, free. I guess that's why they have the saying free as a bird, huh? Anyone want to trade? I hear not many animals have quirks. What do you say? You take my fire, I take your wings? The birds cawed back at him and he chuckled. Nope, no takers. Come on, cut this kid some slack. Normally, he didn't like being called a kid. He was 17, almost 18, and he had been taking care of himself for longer than his sperm donor had cared, and that had to count for something. Maybe it was just something about the birds that got him all sentimental. Izuku heard the crying, the heart-wrenching sobs that were trying to be quiet, and he stopped. Sure, it was none of his business, but even if he wasn't going to be a hero, it was a backup plan for when he dismantled the current government, but not high on his priority list. He had always been one to help people, and that wasn't going to change today. He peeked his head in the alley, making no sounds. It was a boy. He had purple hair that stuck up like Choco had run her fingers through it, and his back was to Izuku, hunched over something on the ground. He edged himself into the corner of the boy's vision and saw him stiffen. Are you alright? Purple eyes shot to him and then away, not giving him an answer. Izuku's eyes followed until he saw what the boy was crying over. It was a cat. He immediately stiffened and gasped. The poor creature was wheezing lightly, and Izuku could see red matted on its fur. Who did this? The boys both startled at the anger in Izuku's voice, but he quickly recovered. If you can give me names, I can make sure this never happens again. The boy's eyes narrowed in confusion. What could you possibly do? He's going to die. It's too late. He looked back at the cat, breath stuttering, and gently pet it. They followed me. It's my fault. Izuku crouched down, edging closer. It was most certainly not your fault unless you somehow made them do this. The boy flinched, but shook his head. Then it wasn't your fault. At least you were able to be there for him. Izuku looked down at the cat and his mouth pursed. But still, give me names. This is cruel and should not go unpunished. Hitoshi honestly didn't know what to think of this innocent-looking boy who could sound so dark talking about his bullies, but he had kept his distance with it, which Hitoshi appreciated. It wouldn't help anyway. The school wouldn't do anything. I can work around that, but that's not my point, Izuku grumbled. Hitoshi wasn't really listening. I should have known I couldn't have nice things, he whispered, but I thought that just maybe I could have this. I wasn't careful. They followed me and then they saw him and started throwing rocks. His breath edged. Rocks, and he sobbed again, and Izuku looked on with sadness. Do you want a hug? The boy looked at him in confusion, but nodded. Izuku nodded back, whipping out his flip phone. He scrolled for a bit, then pressed call. Hello? Hi, Shoji. Are you available right now? I am. Why? Okay, please come to this location. See you soon. Izuku hung up and sent the location as promised, getting back a series of question marks and putting his phone away. He shouldn't be long, but no one I know gives better hugs. The boy nodded slowly, still confused, and Izuku started a little. Oh, but I could give you a hug until he got here, if that would help. He nodded again, and Izuku carefully crept forward to wrap his arms around the taller boy. I'm sorry they hurt you. Hitoshi clammed up, knowing this wouldn't last. This kid, whoever he was, would hear about his quirk and leave. Sure, violence against animals was wrong, so maybe he'd give him the benefit of the doubt for another 30 seconds, but he was bringing his friend too. Oh God, what if it was just to beat Hitoshi up? What if this was all an elaborate setup from Hachiko, and this kid was small to throw him off? But the hug was really warm. The light from the street was blocked out as a tall figure came in, and he heard a voice rumble. Izuku, you gave me no details. Hitoshi paled. This guy was huge. Izuku leapt up. Shoji, this guy needs a hug. Bullies again, and you're the best hugger I know. Shoji raised an eyebrow. This guy? Do you even know his name? The green one blanched and released Hitoshi before bowing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I hugged you and you don't even know my name. I'm Midori and this is Shoji Mezo, my friend. Shinso Hitoshi. Shoji walked down the alley, footfalls near silent. Nice to meet you. I hear you need a hug. Hitoshi was nervous, but stood slowly and nodded. It was really nice. Izuku had been right. Shoji was a really good hugger. So, those names. Hitoshi peeked out from the web of arms to look at the bright-eyed green child. You still want their names? Of course! Izuku, Shoji rumbled, and Shoji felt it through his chest. Please do not blackmail them. I hardly call it blackmailing, Gigi. That nickname still makes me sound like a grandpa. You happen to be the most responsible of the group. No, wait, no distractions. Do not threaten them. I have no idea what you're talking about. So Takashi and the gang just decided to back off on their own? Is that what his name was? I never knew. Izuku? A little motivation goes a long way. Hitoshi couldn't help it. He laughed. It started as a giggle, then a chuckle, then a chortle, and then a full belly laugh, cocooned in the warm embrace of a really tall boy who apparently had also been subject to Izuku at one point. Eventually, it turned back into crying and he sank to the ground, arms never leaving their place wrapped around him. He felt Shoji still and barely heard him hiss. He did that to the cat? Izuku hummed darkly. I changed my mind, Shinzo. We need those names. Shinzo left the alleyway 3 names lighter and his phone 2 numbers heavier. They were nice. Koda would probably like them too. And that was it for chapter 10 of Zutopia by Itslivybear. Yeah. The last part, it was that I was interrupted because my sister came into the room and I'm currently recording this in the bathroom with the door locked. So it is very whisper because the bathroom does not have sound, is not soundproof unlike the rooms. Because, I don't know, it's just like that. So that's it for this chapter. And yay, Hitoshi and Koda. Yay, they're in this chapter. Remember? Hydrate or die straight. And have a good day, have a good whatever time of the day it is, and have a good rest of your day.